Hey there, we're just getting started. Thanks for coming by. We're going to get going in a minute as we get a few more people into the room. And my name is Bobby Omar. I'm excited to have this conversation about how to monetize your digital content, whether it's on Twitter or other spaces as well. So we do this every week, the Power Connection Chat. And so we'll just try to build up this room, get more people in. I'll start tweeting it out there. And with that, I just want to say, hey, Andrea, how are you doing?
Hey, good morning, Bobby. I'm great. I had a wonderful evening last night.
Oh, yeah? What'd you do?
I went to the DGA, the Directors Guild of America, and I was invited to a screening of a movie that called a feature film called Wake Up, and it might
Okay.
even be a contender for the Oscars. Who knows?
Okay, good to know. Actually, the Golden Globe nominations came out today, so it's something I follow. So pretty exciting stuff as the movies of the year start to get recognized. So I'm gonna start trying to tweet this out there, get more people into the room. But for those who are here, just you, me, and Norm. We'll just get more people in the room and hopefully have the conversation. But the goal of today really is to talk about digital content is one thing. So a lot of us create content, but then, how do you monetize that content? I think a lot of people don't know how to do that. They struggle with that. And for me, I've been doing digital content for a long time. I've been able to monetize on several platforms, including Twitter, Clubhouse, Instagram, LinkedIn. I'd say probably those are the biggest four. TikTok I just started, and Facebook is more personal, so I don't usually use those as a primary means for building business. And then YouTube is one that I've used, but I haven't really done a good job of marketing that one. But so I'm going to focus on the ones that I know really well, and hopefully people can join us for that conversation. And if you want to come on stage, put your hand up. You want to ask questions, you want to share thoughts. That's really what we're going to do today to get things going. So while I tweet this out, Indra, why don't you share your introduction for us?
Thanks so much, Bobby. So, hello everyone. Well, hello Norm, and hello to the people that'll be listening to the replay. I'm Indra Bartona, a producer in film and television, based in Los Angeles, and also a TV host. So, the other thing that I do is also I'm the founder of the Positivity Vibe Tribe. That's a global community, and basically, it's all about living a positive vibe lifestyle. So there's some of the things I'm doing at the moment. I'm in development for my feature film. So putting all the pieces together there. So that's what's happening, Bobby. Back over to you. Thank you.
Okay, great. And my name is Bobby Omar. I am a professional speaker by trade. For the last 17 years, I've traveled around the world and done over 1,000 keynotes and workshops across four continents. I'm a five-time TEDx speaker, and I'm also a big social media guy, influencer, I guess, however we're going to call it. But I have a lot of impact on multiple platforms, including Twitter with over 500,000 followers, on LinkedIn with 70,000 followers, and Instagram about 34,000 followers. So I use digital marketing, content creation as a big way to build my thought leadership brand. I also use it to, inspire people, to teach people, but it's also a way to create a funnel to help monetize and build business, whether they want to hire me for speaking or for coaching for other things like that. So that's really what today's topic is all about. Um, so I guess I know that Indra was saying that you may want to use some questions already you want to ask me. So maybe that's a good place to start. I mean, you can start by asking me questions, and that might help us drive the conversation for the others.
Absolutely. So Bobby, for many people, I think they would like to start monetizing, but it's like this overwhelming feeling like, well, what should I, where should I start? Where should I focus on? Because there could be so many areas. And so, what would you say to some of the content creators that are just kind of starting off, as in thinking about, well, oh, I would like to monetize. What are some of the steps that they need to do to just start this whole concept or maybe even preparation?
Yeah, so I mean, if you're thinking about yourself as a business, one of the most important things you can do is get clarity on your personal brand and be clear on what your objective and target is, right? So if you want to build a brand, right? So getting clarity, I think, is a really important piece, right? So a lot of people, when it comes to personal branding, they're not really clear on who, what is the thing about them that makes them unique, sets them apart. And so personal branding creates more focus, clarity, and direction with what you're trying to do. And so by doing so, that's the first step. That also leads to being clear on your target audience, right? So let's say maybe you're serving entrepreneurs, maybe you're serving seniors, maybe you're serving, chefs in a specific area. There's lots of different ways in which you create a target. And once you have that, then you start thinking about your objective of how you want to serve that target audience, leverage your personal brand in a strong way so that you can answer the biggest questions in their minds. And so I think that's where you start. Once you do that, then you can figure out what platforms will work for you. Because sometimes you may find that obviously I think LinkedIn and Twitter have a lot of benefit to them, and I often talk about LinkedIn and Twitter a lot. But there may be an opportunity to use Pinterest. There may be an opportunity to use YouTube or Instagram or TikTok, for example, that might be good for your brand and for your audience. So that to me is a starting point. Once you have that, then you'll be able to come up with a clear content strategy that answer those questions, because your target will give you content ideas because where their pain points, where their bliss points. Your target audience will ask you questions. I mean, oftentimes you can do polls and people can ask you questions about things. Like I know all the questions people ask me over the last 20 years, and so for me, I get a sense of not only what people want to know, but also how those questions evolve over time. And so that's why your target audience, being clear on that, and especially niching to a target audience, does very well. And then your personal brand helps you identify your strengths and the areas of your I guess persona that is appealing and memorable to other people that are out there. So I think those are the things that I would get started with, and then the content strategy will be able to flow from that. In fact, when you have a clear target and you have a clear brand and you have a clear objective and purpose for using different platforms, it's actually going to make your content better. It's going to make your outreach better. It's going to build relationships better, and it's going to build better communities. Does that answer the question? And again, if people want to ask questions, you can certainly let us know, and we'd love to have you be part of the conversation.
Yes, that was fantastic, Bobby, and a lot of detail. So, okay, so the thing is, I just want to backtrack a little bit because you mentioned something about the platforms and about figuring out which platforms. So, is there like a tried and tested way to figure out which is your platform? If you are figuring out, okay, well, there's so many different platforms. What's like a quick way that everybody could figure out, okay, well, this is probably my two platforms or my one platform.
Well, first off, I would say that you should definitely try to be in more than one platform for lots of reasons. It's something I've been advocating the last little while. Um, I would say I think there's like probably three basic things. You know, where's your target audience? Right? Is one. Okay. Um, what are your what are your strengths and things you love to what type of content you like to create? So, for example, if I'm a really good video content creator, then TikTok might be a good place to be, right? So, where's your target audience in terms of what they're doing? What exactly is what appeals to you in terms of the type of content you want to create? And then the third place is, it really depends on what kind of business or service you have, right? So once you have those three things, then that's the three big things to help you figure out the platform. So, a good example of that is, one of the so I run the Thought Leadership Brand Club, which is basically a membership community where we help people build their brands, leverage social audio, and to work on their thought leadership. And so one of the things, I was consulting with one of the people in our group, and he wanted to talk politics. I said, well, if you want to talk politics, then Twitter Spaces is a really good place to go. And so he ran a Twitter Space room and had like 1,000 people show up in his room. And he was like, "Wow, this is crazy." I'm like, "Yeah, like politics are quite frequently discussed on Twitter. So if you can do it well, it can actually go well for you." Another example is NFTs, right? So NFTs and Web3 are very, very hot on Twitter, and so that's where a lot of people are talking about, including all the influencers. And so That's the play. That doesn't mean you can't do it on LinkedIn or Instagram. You can, but it just means that there's a lot of opportunity here to do so. So that whereas again, if you're B2B, for example, you're probably going to have better success doing using LinkedIn because there it's easier to communicate with businesses and the social media and digital managers of those businesses to try to start conversation with people on teams, individuals, and things like that. So I think that's kind of the way to go.
Okay, awesome. All right. So, and then something else that you mentioned about niching down, uh, because I guess the thing is, a lot of people when they want to start, they have an idea. And what's a quick way to niche down? What's your hot tip as far as figuring out what the niche is?
Well, let's start with the what not to do, which is, my brand is for everybody. That's not the way to go. Like you have to niche down. So I think that's the one thing that a lot of people make a mistake around. They want to be that person for everyone. And I mean, if you look at my topics, for example, personal branding, public speaking, and authentic connection. These are things that appeal to everybody. But that doesn't mean I should create a business that's targeted just to everybody. It should be targeted to more specific things. The second thing I would think about, in terms of niching, is thinking about. Well, again, we're looking at monetization, right? So now we're thinking about a more niche audience that is not only going to buy from you, but also an audience that you really want to work with, right? So, so in the early days of my speaking career, I've been a speaker for many many years. I was focused on a lot of young people. As I was, I was speaking at colleges and universities and youth conferences, and it was fine and I enjoyed it. I mean, because I love young people. They're just so idealistic and and full of energy. But overall, it wasn't really paying the bills because they didn't have the budgets that I was kind of looking to try to build a career off of. And so I had to segue away from that and try to do things that were more targeted to people that actually had that could support my business goals, right? So, that's something where you have to listen and evolve to what is needed, if that makes sense. And again, if you're liking this conversation and you want to be part of it, we encourage you to please retweet the link above there in the nest to get more people in the room. There's also a thing on the bottom right there where you can actually tweet and share questions and whatnot. That's also another great way to get more people into this room. And yeah, and you can also DM people if you want to get them into the room and join the conversation and maybe even ask a question where I'm making myself accessible to you guys every week on the Power Connection chat at 11 a.m. on Mondays. Indra, I love the question. Keep going. This is great.
Okay, yeah. Well, I'm just kind of getting to we're starting off with the basics and then we're building from there. Okay, so that was fantastic. So that was a really great example, Bobby, of the college student one of figuring out, okay, well, where should I be targeting my audience? And so the other thing is when, say if it's early days and we're building our brand, what's the most important thing for everybody to be doing? Say, let's take an example like, say, Twitter, for example. What should everybody be doing on their accounts to start to attract the right audience?
Well, the number one thing to start to attract the right audience is to be consistent, right? So continually, consistently sharing your tweets and your ideas and your posts in a consistent manner so people see it and pretty soon starts to attract people. When I first joined Twitter way back in the day, um, November 2010, uh, what happened was I just tweeted once per day, but I tweeted the power of connection rule number one, listen. Then I went to the next day, power of connection rule number two, smile. And I kept doing power connection rules, and I ended up doing about 315 power connection rules. I should have done more because then I would have had like a calendar, 365. But people started responding after about 5 6 days and saying, what are you talking about? Tell me more about this." Oh, okay. And then next thing you know, I started chatting with people and having conversations, and so that consistency and patience certainly will help. I think the other thing, of course, is going back to the whole personal branding and targeting thing, knowing, understanding, and knowing who they are, listening to who they are, listening to your audience about what they want to learn about, what they want to hear. I think that's also in the beginning when you get going. And the third thing I'll say is that a lot of people, they spend a lot of time analyzing and perfecting their brand, their target, and their niching, and all that kind of stuff before they do anything. And that, they're just constantly just, analyzing and planning and learning, but they're not actually doing or taking action. And that's actually a bad way to go. And there's other people who just put stuff out there, and they put stuff out there, they put everywhere without actually doing any deep dive work and understanding their target audience, the needs of their audience, their branding, and things like that. What you should do is both. You do both at the same time. You put stuff out there, start putting it out there, talking to people, putting it out there, listening to people, learning. And while you're doing that, you do the background fundamental work on getting clarity on your brand, your customer avatar, your target audience, the type of content you want to put out there. So that to me is the beginning stages of what you're trying to do.
That's awesome. So, for many people that haven't heard about the customer avatar, how would you describe that process of creating that for your brand?
Well, the customer avatar is actually, and that's funny. It's funny. So, customer avatar is something that I also delayed doing, and then my own coach said, "Bob, you need to put together a customer avatar." And oh, okay, okay. So then I did, and it's really a deep dive into creating a persona of the person you ideally want to talk to and ideally want to attract as a client. And so I created two actually, one male, one female, and I dove deep into their likes, their dislikes, their psychographics, their demographics. Um, what type of setup do they have? Are they entrepreneurs? Are they the family? What kind of books do they read? Like really diving deep into what kind of TV shows they watch, like really understanding who these people are. And it's good because now when I think about posting content or running rooms, I think about these people, and it goes a long way to helping me amplify my content in a way that reaches those people.
Okay, that's awesome. All right, so we've got the foundations of niching personal brand, the clear target audience and the brand. We've talked about a little bit about the platforms, and now we've talked about the customer avatars. Okay, so what's next, Bobby, when the foundations are laid, all the groundwork is laid? As far as we've got the niche, we've got the personal brand, clear targeting, all those things are laid down. We've now got a target audience, and in particular, targeting everything. So how do we then move forward from there to figure out what we're going to monetize?
Yeah, so I mean, this is where we now start to hone in on what is our strategy to grow our business, right? Particularly using the monetization strategies that you might want to learn. So one of the things I'm doing actually this month in the Thought Leadership Brand Club membership community is we're actually doing a series of mini trainings. I'm taking people through, the basics of, well, actually not the basics, but some of the important pieces they need to learn to, build a brand for 2023. So we're doing things like reflecting on a target audience, looking at programs, how to make an offer, how to have a clear brand, how to actually put stuff out there, how to have a DM strategy. So I'm looking at all these different things. But I think then the next stage is okay, now what is our business growth strategy? There's a couple of aspects that come into play here. Like one, of course, is what are the products that you offer? So what are your offerings? Do you have a course? Do you offer training? Do you offer speaking? What exactly are offerings? Make sure it's clear what those are and what are the benefits of people who want to get those offerings. Then the second thing, of course, is what is your marketing and outreach strategy? So content marketing is only one thing, right? Content marketing is a tool for you to demonstrate your expertise and build your authority. It's a tool to build conversations with people, and it's a tool to show that you're someone who's out there trying to make a difference and help people. And once you have that, then you get into what are the ways to get people into the monetization piece. Now, there's different ways, of course. One of the best ways is direct messages, which a lot of people don't do. I mean, the golden rule on LinkedIn, for example, is optimize your profile to make it clear exactly how you help people. Number two, have a content strategy that demonstrates your expertise. And then number three, reach out to people via DMs and start conversations. Because when you start conversations, that eventually leads to a potential coffee or a Zoom call that can lead to business. But that to me is the general strategy that people need to adopt. And what I would say is that, and then social audio also is a very unique thing because social audio has this ability to create really authentic conversations like we're trying to have here. And, people, there's something about the authentic audible voice that people have and listen to. There's something about having people on stage in a democratized podcast form, listen and learn from each other and build trust. And I find the social audio is really good for that, to build that trust, to build community, to build connection. And so that's why I do love running the rooms that I do. I run Twitter Spaces on Sunday and Monday. I run LinkedIn audio rooms on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I run a Clubhouse room on Mondays and Fridays. So for me, the social audio piece is a huge part of my digital content and business growth strategy. And I see we have a question. We have a hand up here. So shall we get to that, Indra?
Yes, let's go over. Warm welcome, Ben. What's your question for today's space to Bobby? Ben, are you able to speak?
Yeah, hello. Hello, everybody. Hello?
Hi,
Yeah,
you're
hi, go ahead.
coming
We can
in
hear you.
really. Yeah, we can hear you,
Yeah,
Ben.
oh, okay. Hello, Bob. Hello, Indra. Hello, everybody. I just got, and can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, I actually have an idea for monetizing your digital content. Like especially here on Twitter. You just have to like post. Make a real like first of all make a real content and you know make a real content. You post like just keep posting. You put to the hashtags. Like you share to people, especially websites. Yeah, that's my idea. Yeah. Hello.
Okay. Oh, yeah, we can hear you. You may want to mute though. It's a bit noisy on your end.
Can you hear
So
me,
you may.
Bob?
I can hear you, but I'm going to mute you because it's a bit loud from where you are. Okay, so just make sure you're muted. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I mean, I think there are actually a lot of ways to make money or monetize from the internet per se, right? But and there's different ways to do it. I mean, people are using lots of tools, right? They have programs, they run webinars, they have email marketing funnels, they have subscribers, they have communities, they have people who pay to put ads on their blog posts. I mean, there's lots of ways to do it. The thing is, assuming that most of us are individual brands and we don't have all the time in the world, we have to figure out what are the two or three best ways for us to do that, right? And so, when I work with clients, I'm like, okay, let's figure out the best way to help you monetize and grow. And but at the end of the day, it's a very similar thing, which is having a strategy that showcases your expertise, authority, and influence, right? That's one. There's a second piece that's a relationship building strategy. How do we build relationships and build trust, build community? I think that's an important piece. And then the third piece is really okay. Now, how do we then turn that into a sale, which includes the sales call or the messaging strategy to get people to understand exactly what you're doing. In fact, going back to I was telling you before about how I'm doing this thing this month to reflect and reflect from this year and plan for next year. It's a schedule of mini trainings I'm offering on the TLB, the Thought Brand Club. And so on Thursday I talked about thought leadership trends that I think are important for us to do, and then on Friday I talked about why, mission, and vision. And this week, I'm going to talk about personal branding and niche targeting on Thursday. And then on Friday, I'm going to talk about building scalable programs, irresistible offers. Then the following week, I'm going to talk about your content strategy and your funnel strategy. Then I'm going to talk about mindset and accountability and staying accountable. Then I'm going to talk about lead generation, actually selling your business. And then finally, I'm going to talk about sales calls and negotiations. And these are things that everyone needs to learn how to do in order to build their business. I think one of the things that I used to struggle with a couple of years ago before I hired a coach to help me was sales. I wasn't the best at sales. And now I'll happily say, hey, I'm doing a workshop this Saturday, which is true. I haven't posted up above, but I am actually doing a workshop this Saturday to help you work on a multi-platform strategy to expand beyond Twitter or LinkedIn and learn to monetize your content strategy across multiple platforms, because most thought leaders who are doing great on one platform actually are doing great on multiple platforms. And so it's important to learn how to do that, because you want to diversify your audience and diversify your reach and get hooks in different places where you can also repurpose content. And it doesn't have to be a huge burden to be on 3 platforms versus just one. How are we doing so far,
That's
Indra?
We are doing great. And hey, I wanted to give a shout out to everybody that's joined the space. Warm welcome. And I see some of my friends there. I see Joshua Kangley. I see Rose Howards. Hey, warm welcome to you. Uh, Kalaya, thank you. Thank you, everybody, for also sharing out the space. I see Sarah. Great to see you. So it's lovely to see everybody else as well. A lot of people here. I don't want to go through all the names, but we're really happy that you're all here in the space. And do feel free to ask Bobby any questions about this topic, because he really is the expert on monetization. This is what he does full time. Uh, he actually makes a living off his business, and built via his amazing following on social media. And maybe that's another topic for another day, that we can go over, the things about building your strategies on across the different social media platforms, because you're very good at that as well, Bobby. But yeah, back to the topic. As far as okay, so you just mentioned about the importance of figuring out what are the things that you're also going to be selling to your audience, as in, what are those particular things? So, what is a good thing to maybe start with your audience as maybe a first step to sell something small and maybe, test the waters out?
That's a good question. I mean, it really depends on your business, and it depends on your target audience and what they want. I mean, some people, you have to think about your audience in terms of, what is the best way for them to learn from you, and what is the best way for them to get the result that they want, right? So I think that that's kind of something you have to figure out depending on who your audience is and what your product is. Because there's different ways to learn and grow and to implement. A lot of people like hands-on approaches. They want a step-by-step approach, which is why the workshop we're doing on this Saturday, December 17th, it's a hands-on approach. So that one's very specifically. So we did one December 3rd, which was basically a training. People listen, and we gave them training on how to do LinkedIn and TikTok and Instagram and Twitter, and how to monetize there. That was a training for like an hour and a half. The one we're doing on this Saturday is specifically hands-on. We're basically going to take 10 people, and we have these breakout rooms with the Instagram, TikTok expert, the Twitter expert, and the LinkedIn expert, and we're going to actually take you through and go through your profile, go through your strategy, and come up and help you figure that stuff out over 2 hours. And so we're going to work with people, hands on with that way. And then, of course, there's other ones that people like, the full day long or the 2 day thing, where it's a complete immersion into whatever we're trying to do. Or another example would be like the 3 month, 6 month program, or the 8 week, 6 week, 12 week program. Take me from A to Z. So that's an example of things you can do, because audiences want different things, right? So some people just want to listen and learn, which is fine, but most of them don't even act on it. But that's what they want. Other people want to, the hands-on approach. Other people want the group coaching. Other people want a longer form thing. But it's important to know kind of what they want. But if you're just starting out, I mean, an easy thing to start off with is a social audio room or a webinar. Start with that, because that's a great way to engage people and get people to show up and see what you're all about and talking about your expertise. I think that's a great starting point that can lead to a potential, okay, let's follow up and have a conversation, and let's book a call and just chat. If you like this conversation, you like what I'm talking about, you want to book a call. And a lot of people do, like in the beginning, they do a lot of free consultations for 15 to 30 minutes, and or even sometimes 1 hour. That's something people can do to attract those who might be potential clients. So just starting out, I mean, again, put some sort of program out there that people will get into, like a social audio room, like a webinar, like a, I don't know, a 3 module free course that's really simple, like 3 10-minute videos where you train people on something. That to me is a very easy thing to put together. It doesn't have to be overly complicated.
Oh, I think that's really great what you just shared. Like put a 10-minute course together. That is really, I think that's a really great way to start. It's almost like having a mini course.
Yeah, exactly. I think every single person. In fact, it's funny. I was just thinking about that because I'm doing that mini training in the Fellowship Band Club community membership community on building your programs, right? So one of the essentials of building a program is to you think of your target audience, right? Your niche target audience, and you think about what do they need that'll take them from A to Z of everything they want to do to master what they're doing, right? How do I take people to mastery? And so you start by thinking about what that is, and then the beginner basic program, that free, 3 10-minute modules, whatever it might be, that's like the first, that's ABC. What are the ABCs? Take people to the ABCs before they get to the, XYZs. And so that's the start in terms of how you do it.
I really feel like that's gold that you just shared with us all. That piece right there of just starting. And I think that's the thing is, Bobby, you simplified a lot just then for people that would be starting out because it, I think a lot for many of us, it is overwhelming to think, okay, well what am I going to do? And how am I going to do this? And, we see very successful people that have these huge courses and things. And present company included, and it seems very overwhelming. I have been in attendance to one of your courses, the TEDx speaking course, and I mean there was a lot of information that you provided there, and so you have to be very organized. But one thing that it did show me is that you're very well researched. So that is something that you have been ongoing in this conversation this morning about researching and providing what's required to the audience and what they want, listening to your audience. Oh, okay. So I think we have
Yeah, what's interesting about that is that when I ran my when I teach people about speaking and how to deliver world class presentations, one of the things I tell people is that one of the ways that I do well, I have a framework for how I do well with speaking and training and delivering those talks, but it's basically personal stories, case studies, and evidence,
Mm,
right?
Evidence of harm.
Personal. Sorry, go ahead. You have a question?
Evidence of harm. It began many years ago with a film I translated for an organization in USA who created film about amalgam and how the toxicology in amalgam fillings created diseases, and we translated in different languages to um, to help the film become international and help the industry to remove the industry at once in all countries. But it happens and many things that it disappeared that project, and he just showed it 1 or 2 cities and didn't want our translation. I worked 3 months to translate in Persian. That was for waste of time for me, and got $100 for 3 months work to translate any detail of the language that will be very powerful effect on Iranians. Wow. So I was very angry. So it happens that nobody cares about humanity. What is our role in the society when we are patients, creating the future with platforms that never are seen or respected by Swedish society because we have no work, we have no, and we don't pay tax back to them 2 crowns.
So I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I understand the question, but I guess
My
I'm going to take a
question
guess here.
is that if we have a democracy in Sweden or any country that are polluted forever with toxicology via dental branch, that they just work in an organization placed in some place in a city in Europe or in Italy or somewhere very modern country, that they are all civilized. So we have no civilization in Sweden because we never have respect to patients here. We are students have no respect in this society. If you are a student, nowhere in the world you are respected. So what is the rule of the basic income parties, basic income in each of the countries, that do they work no, never together anywhere of the place of the earth? They just create on organizations to work for themselves. What is humanity? The connection of Litarex, lithium citrate, that was in 7-Up disappeared. The humanity disappeared from Earth. So I have explained it in many different ways in with solution, with solutions that are in solitude. So many times you pray to God for yourself at home, it never reached the God because God is disappeared behind the clouds, behind somewhere. So he is somewhere hiding. So you never pray to reach. If you
So sorry, I had to remove her from the stage only because I think she was going a bit off topic. The topic today is about monetizing your digital content, and it sounded to me like you were talking about a different topic. But I will address that a little bit for you, just so you have some bit of an answer. If you want to get attention around your message, and you want to get people to see and hear what you're doing, and to listen to you, to understand, to empathize, it's incredibly important to, number one, understand the context of the people you're talking to in a certain room. So whether it's this room or other rooms, you want to make sure that you're able to do that. I think that's the first piece. The second thing is consistency, to keep doing that in an appropriate way so that people who are, the correct target audience, who want to listen to this stuff and are going to be, interested in your topic area, are the ones that are there. If you go into a room and start talking about a topic that is off topic, then you're going to lose people, right? So I think that's important too. It sounded to me like you were focusing on this particular social issue for yourself, but it wasn't really related to the room. So that's why I removed her from the space, because we were also, I'm also catering to my audience too, right? I want to make sure my audience here is getting the most out of the space and being able to have their questions answered. So thanks for coming up. I do appreciate it, but I also want to make sure that when people come up, they also ask questions, they stay on topic, and they respect what the room is all about. So Indra, back to you. Sorry about that. Any other questions you want to ask me, or if anybody else has a relevant question specifically about digital content, monetization, multiple platforms, I'd love to hear from you. You can also DM us too. You can also click on the button there with where it's the bubble there. You can actually go to the bubble and ask a question through that. There's lots of ways to ask questions. So let me know, Indra. What do you think?
Okay, so actually in the chat, Jules asked about what about Facebook Live? Um, yeah, we haven't really talked about Facebook that much, and I don't know why, but I mean, I'm just throwing my 5 cents in. I always think of Facebook as family and friends. I don't know about you, Bobby, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, and also to answer for Jules.
Yeah, so Facebook Live. I mean, here's the thing: live streams are very, very impactful. Okay, so you can do a YouTube live stream, you can do a Instagram live stream, you can do a Facebook live stream, you can do a LinkedIn live stream, you can do one on Twitter. Live stream are one of the best ways to build an audience, to showcase your expertise, to have a conversation, and build community. So I've seen people and colleagues of mine who've done really well with building a business on Facebook, right? Again, the key is, are you consistent? Are you creating great value? Are you focused on a clear brand and clear target that delivers value? And then eventually do you invite them to connect with you and have a conversation, which then eventually leads to business. And you can do that on any platform. You can do that here. You can do that on Facebook Live. So there are people I know who just do Facebook Lives. They love Facebook Lives and it works for them. Right. So, like myself, I haven't done much on YouTube in terms of building that up. I have like 379 subscribers on YouTube, not very many. But, other people have. I mean, they've done a great job of it. And so I think that you can utilize any tool to do so. And what I will say, I'll share a special recognition to live streams and social audio rooms because that's where people really see and hear you as how, like they'll see how you are, they'll see your behavior, they'll see your body language, they'll see your personality. I think that is incredibly important and powerful. And audio rooms, they'll hear your articulation, your eloquent of thought, how you describe things, how you explain things. Because the ones who do poorly on video or poorly on audio, you can tell, right? You can tell. When you go into a clubhouse room or a Twitter space or LinkedIn audio room, and they talk in a way that really doesn't work for you, you'll leave. When you see video content and live streams where people are, talking in a way that doesn't really appeal to you, or doesn't fit with your kind of personality or values, then you'll leave. And so I think there's incredible opportunity with both live streams and with audio rooms as well. I mean, that's why webinars are so popular, because it's basically an audio visual experience that people feel kind of close to you and they can ask questions. And when at the end of the webinar there's an upsell, some people will take it up, or at least have a conversation and book a call. And next thing you know, you have a conversation. I mean, the thing is, and the thing is, when it comes to monetizing and selling things, I mean, you just have to be like, look, here's what I'm doing. Here's how it's going to help you. If you're interested, book a call. That's it. I mean, I've been in rooms where they sell way too much, and I still haven't even shared the link to my December 17th workshop, which I'm trying to get to. But yeah, I think that just put the value up there. Let people know why it's beneficial and what you're going to do specifically. Be really transparent of what you're going to do, and then if they want to book a call, great. And when I book a call with people, I just lay out, here's what you've identified, here's what you're trying to do, here's what your gaps are, here's how I can help you, and if I can't help you, maybe I'll send you to somebody else that can help you, but here's kind of what I'm doing. And if you're interested, you're either in or you're out. And if you're out, no worries. If you're in, great. Let's get clarity on what we're going to do together. And that's kind of how I roll with those types of things.
That's awesome. Thanks for answering that, Bobby. We actually have Jules stepped up here, maybe to dig in a little bit deeper. Well, welcome, Jules. Did you want to ask Bobby a little bit more in detail? Jules, are you able to speak?
This is Jules' big moment.
Oh, hello. Can you hear me? Hello.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, Bobby. How you doing? Sorry, my mic was off. Thank you for answering that question regarding Facebook. I just want to let everybody know this is my first time using Twitter Space. So this is a big personal moment for me. This is really, for me, like really out there. That's funny. But yes, I just posted the Facebook question because I always thought that Facebook Live or Facebook is a good way to kind of start getting feedback, and you have your friends and your family that they'll watch it just because, they know you and they want to laugh at you, or they're curious. So I think it's a great way to just start there and get used to actually being out there and finding your voice, and then perhaps developing a strategy to further develop that.
Well, the thing with Facebook that people don't realize is that Facebook is a great place for personal connections. Most people we know on Facebook are people that we know personally. So, if I was, for example, a mortgage broker or a financial planner, I would definitely be doing stuff on Facebook to talk about, how I help people and why it's important, and asking my friends, hey, listen, if you know somebody that's looking, for, and building that trust with my personal connections. I'd also do LinkedIn as well. Building my trust with my personal connections, because in those types of businesses, personal referrals are incredibly important, right? So that's why to me Facebook has a lot of you know opportunity. The other opportunity on Facebook that a lot of people realize is Facebook ads are extremely good at targeting for a relatively cheap rate. So like Google ads and Facebook ads are relatively cheap compared to other types of like LinkedIn ads, Twitter ads are super expensive, and so they work for big businesses, but not for like solopreneurs or smaller brands. But Google ads and Facebook ads have worked quite well. I'll run an ad campaign to book calls or to get people to be part of my program, and next thing you know, it gets a lot of attraction for me. So I think again, there's lots of benefits to every platform has benefits, right? I mean, there's no platform that's like, okay, this platform sucks. Like every platform has something to it if you know how to do it. And I think that's why it's so important to, have that knowledge and work with people who have the knowledge, right? So, yeah, thanks for sharing that comment. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Absolutely. One last quick question, just in terms of directly monetizing content. Any thoughts on NFTs? And I'll just leave it at that.
NFTs? I mean, well, I'm pro NFT. What do you mean in terms of how to monetize that type of stuff?
Yeah, is there a way to perhaps, if you're developing content and you have a platform and you have a community and you've established yourself, are there any strategies that you've heard of or any success stories in terms of how to develop an NFT behind your content? Perhaps maybe developing NFTs for viewership rewards or engagement rewards, or perhaps actually sell your content via an NFT for perhaps a webinar. If you have this particular NFT, then you could participate in this webinar or something like that in terms of business strategies using NFTs to develop your online content.
Yeah, so I'll be fully transparent here. I don't know much about NFTs, although I was in the space and I was talking to a lot of people. I think that the benefit NFTs are really hot, particularly on Twitter, but other platforms as well. But Twitter is the best place to talk about them. There are a lot of rooms on here that Twitter Spaces are plenty with talking about NFTs. And then building a community, getting them into your Discord community, which is probably the most popular way to go. But again, number one, building a community. Number two, sharing expertise. Number three, having giving them some value. I know Gary Vaynerchuk does a really good job of leveraging NFTs for his communities to, get access to content or get access to a conference and things like that. So he's done a really good job with the utility of NFTs. Although for me personally, I don't know much about it to give you as much advice, but I do believe that at the end of the day, it comes down to community, relationship, value. And if you can establish that trust and make it very clear, then you will be able to build and sell those NFTs in a really powerful way. To answer your question, a little bit.
No, yeah, no, great. Thanks a lot. Yeah, just enjoy the information, and yeah, it's true. I mean, bottom line is, I guess it goes down to the basics: developing something of value that people want to hear, so and contribute to the community. So I think that's right on point. Thanks a lot. Appreciate
Awesome.
it.
All right, Andrea, what's next? This is great. And everybody in the audience, I mean, if you want to come on stage, I see people here, lots of interesting profiles and people are doing stuff. If you want to come on stage and ask a question, you totally can. If you want to share your own insight into how to monetize or how have you been monetizing? I mean, Andrea, maybe I'll ask you the question. I mean, is that something that you also have been doing in terms of monetization, or it's more you're building awareness towards building your movie career?
It's it seems to be the the predominant is that my movie career seems to be taking precedence as I'm in development phase at the moment for my movie. So at the moment, it's kind of like I've been um, kind of distracted from my main progress, as in development of content to actually monetize. But I have a few things that I'm starting. Like I have been researching as far as along the line. I have a spreadsheet, And something that really important that you mentioned earlier, Bobby, was finding what your audience wants. So every time I find what my audience wants, I actually write that down. And what I have been doing, although it hasn't monetized, for example, is earlier when I started, I did some research and I found out that a lot of people didn't want really long meditations. Like they didn't want like an hour or longer. So a lot of my audience seem to be working people that are very busy and they're almost overwhelmed with, okay, I have to do one more thing. So I created my meditations that are most of them are 10 minutes and under. So that's one thing that, I actually catered for my audience. I'm not monetizing from that, but it's just an example of as you're going along to collate all your information, to make sure that you're collecting it, that you have a place, your own sort of database where you do collect the information, because later on, when you are in the position to create something, then you can do it. Um, I have created courses, and one of them I actually ran through uh, the Medici community as a kind of a test run quite a few months ago, actually, at the beginning of the year. So that has potential to be actually a course that I could create, as in for the people that are very interested in a particular area. So I'm doing those sorts of things, Bobby, just kind of collating and working on my course creation in between the movie stuff.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. And I want to point out too, like I put in the nest above. I put together the second tweet in the nest is the schedule from the Thought Leadership Brand Club membership community, and I'm talking and I show all the things I'm going to be covering in the next this month, because December is a great month for planning and reflection and looking up for what we want to do next year. And then the third tweet in the nest is about the workshop I'm doing this Saturday, December 17th. And I'm working with Ilya Francis, who is a TikTok, Instagram, and video content expert. I'm working with Melanie, who is a LinkedIn expert. Of course, Ilya and I are also LinkedIn experts as well. And of course, I'm the relative Twitter expert. What we're going to do is we're going to create 3 breakout rooms where we're going to take 10 people, only 10, because we want to make sure we work with you. And basically, what we'll do is you will come into either one of those rooms and we will go through your profile, your content strategy, and work with you specifically to optimize your profile, to look at your strategy, give you some recommendations, and help you, handhold you on a strategy to how to monetize and build sales with your platform. So you can come into the Twitter room with me, you can come to the LinkedIn room with Melody, you can come into the TikTok, Instagram room with Ilya, and we're basically going to be there for 2 hours to help you out. So if you're interested in this, I mean, the link is up there. You can learn, you can read more about it. There's also a bunch of bonuses you're going to get too if you sign up, but you can take a look at that. But if you want to learn more about it, or the page not, it's a pretty detailed event. But if you laying out exactly what you get, but if you still have more questions, you can always DM me and ping me. But I think it'd be a fun conversation, especially because I'd love to get a few more people into that and more bodies in that room. So take a look at that. Um, I was going to say something else, but I've lost my train of thought. So I'll go back to Indra and have her help me out here.
Okay, so Bobby, we also have some more questions in the chat, but we also have a new speaker. So shall we go to Will first and then jump to the chat afterwards?
Well, let's do the chat first, actually, and we'll go to Will, because I think it was there for a
Okay,
while.
it has actually been there for a little while. Okay, so this is from Ken, and he's asking 2 questions for Bobby, please. Um, do you have a preferable social media platform for a beginner to start with? And 2, when you have a client that is about to sign for your services but still a little hesitant, do you have a way to bring them to a close? Oh, very specific.
Okay, so going with the first one, I mean, when it comes to what platform to start with, a couple things. One is, pick one that you feel very comfortable with. Number 2, pick the place where a majority of your target audience is. And number 3, pick something you're gonna enjoy and love doing, right? Because if you don't enjoy it, it's gonna people are gonna see through that, right? So you pick something that works for you. I mean, some people prefer tweeting, some people prefer doing videos, some people prefer to, just use personal connections on Facebook and talk about it there. So, you know, uh, pick one that you feel comfortable with and you feel like and you might enjoy doing it, because I think that's the way to start, right? And I do take in mind where your target audience is, because if I'm on Facebook talking about B2B stuff, then that's not going to go very well, because those are all personal connections and they probably don't care. And if I go on Twitter talking about something that people don't care about, then it won't resonate. So, I know, for example, LinkedIn is a hard place, for example, for people to sell more holistic spiritual type services, right? So Facebook's better for that than it is, and Instagram better for that than is LinkedIn. So you have to be mindful of the audience of those places, the culture of those places. I think that makes a big difference. Oh no, so the second question
Yeah.
was the selling thing, right? Oh man, okay, so yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of schools of thought on this, but generally speaking, if someone is hesitant about it, then you have to address that and say, "Listen, I can understand you're hesitant. What's holding you back from doing this? You understand the program, you understand the benefits. What's holding you back?" And they may say, "I'm worried about time. I'm worried about money. I'm worried about whatever it might be." But you have to understand what that hesitation is all about, so that you can address it some way. So, for example, some might say, well, I'm concerned about the cost. Okay, so then you could say, well, would a payment plan work for you? Right? Where instead of paying the lump sum, you can do 4 payments of blah blah blah, and it's easier on your cash flow. So those are things you could do. Or they could say, well, I'm not sure about this. What kind of guarantees can you offer? And there's certain guarantees you can offer and other guarantees you can't offer. So you have to be mindful of that and be careful. But I think that to me, you want to address it for the first part, and after that, if they still don't want to do it, there's no point in going after someone for a long, long time. It's not worth it. You want people who are gung ho and ready to do the work, because trust me, when you have somebody who hesitates more than once, that's the trick here. If they hesitate more than once and bring up the money thing or the time thing more than once, if they bring up once and I address it and say, well, here's what I think, that's fine. But if they bring it up several times, I can tell you that they will be a more difficult client to work with, because they're going to always bring it up. They're going to always bring up the time thing or the money thing or the value thing or the quality thing or whatever it might be. Because if they bring it up once or twice, you address it and reassure them, okay, fine. But if it keeps coming up, then it's not worth it. You need to let it go. Like, forget about it. Let's just like let this go. It's not worth the hassle. I had a client many years ago. He was just so terrible with his paying me on time. He always like asked for I mean, at least he was communicative. He'd say, "Sorry, can I delay this? Can I delay?" And he kept messaging me, which I appreciate communication. So he delayed and delayed and delayed. But we agreed on something, and I think he finally paid off everything in about 7 months after having worked with him for only 3 months. And then he said, "I want to work with you again." And first thing I said was, I increased my fee, and I said payment has to be upfront. And then he's like, okay, I'm gone. And he didn't want to work with me anymore. Great. I didn't want to deal with it anyways, because in my mind, it was too much of a hassle. I spent so much time trying to deal with it. And I've also been burned before by people who I ran a program 3 years ago, and, someone didn't pay. And then, I tried to ask them, politely and whatnot, but eventually didn't work out. I had another one who complained about it, saying, "Hey, I, you know, I didn't get what I was looking for, blah blah blah." And I said, "Look, we agreed on this price, and you said you do the work, and you didn't do the work, and you agreed on the price. I think you should pay me." And then he said, "Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry," and then he paid me. So, like, everyone's different, but it's a hassle. You want to avoid that. So I think it's really important. Number one, to be clear on exactly what you're doing, what they're getting, and what work they have to put into it, and be really clear on addressing their concerns and questions. And then after that, if it's too much, or there's too much, like having to do like 3 4 follow-up calls and all this, and they keep bringing up the same stuff all the time, then yeah, you probably don't want to work with them. I think it's probably something you should avoid. Good question, though.
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks so much for the question, Ken. Okay, so over to Will. Thank you for waiting so patiently, Will. And we'd love to hear your question. Over to Bobby.
Good evening. I'm in South Africa in Cape Town. Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, cool. I've got about two or three questions. One is that I have about four different, I think three handles on different platforms because of you find that the handle already exists. Do I need to worry about having different handles on these platforms? That's one. Two is that content across these platforms on social media, does it have to be the same? When I post on Instagram, does it have to be the same on Tumblr and Twitter or Facebook? Three, um, I'm in coaching business, and I've been working with the environment of education with educators, and I've picked up the challenge of whether to misunderstand the coaching business or just the costs as you're talking about it, to having them to pay for the services on individual levels. I can get group coaching, it's easy, but getting one-on-one, it's the traction is just taking too long, and I need to improve on that. That's what I need help with on that. If you can help me, thank you.
Okay, so whenever people ask me three questions, I often forget the first one. So let's go back to the first one. What was the first one?
The first one is, sorry, I'm on about three or four or platforms on social media,
Oh yeah, the different
and
handles. Right. Okay, I remember that. So the thing is, ideally, you want to have the same handles. Like I have Rayhan Bobby on everything: TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, you name it. But
yeah,
if you don't have it, I don't think it's horrible, right? I mean, what's more interesting is that if you have a clear profile that describes who you are and what you do, and you have the great content, it doesn't matter if the spelling are different on different platforms. So I would say that I shouldn't worry too much about that. Although if you're in the beginning of it, then you may want to try to switch to something where it's very, very similar. What was your second question?
the second question was posting of content creation and posting.
Right. Okay. Now I get. So yeah. So the benefit of multi-platform content strategy is that you can repurpose content across platforms, which is great. Right. That doesn't mean you should do it all the time. Right. I mean, obviously, the content strategy on TikTok will be different than LinkedIn, which will be different than Twitter, because on Twitter, you tend to tweet multiple times per day. On
Yeah.
TikTok, they expect you to share two or three videos or more per day. Whereas on LinkedIn, that would not work. You would not do more than one video per day, because more than one piece of content per day, you start to lose traction. So, you would have to switch that up in terms of how you do it. The other thing is, how you repurpose the content. You say things differently. Like, so I repurpose content all the time. I love it. It's a time saver for those of us who are solopreneurs, right? But I'll do a video on LinkedIn. I'll eventually share it on Instagram, but then I change it a little bit, and I change it. The hashtag strategy on Instagram is far different than the one on LinkedIn. And then on
Uh,
Twitter, again, it's different too. So you would mix it up. But I think that you can have repurposed content, and you can also have, and I think that's one of the biggest strategies most people do. Like stuff that Gary Vaynerchuk puts together is on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on YouTube, on Twitter. He does it all the time. But he also has a machine that does different types of content for different platforms. And
all
your
right.
third question, I'm on a roll
And the
here.
third question, the question was on monetization, but I said I'm more focused on the education environment, working with educators.
Hmm.
I seem to get a lot of event business on group coaching rather one-on-one.
Yeah.
And then on the monetizing the content itself, I haven't reached there yet. I haven't thought about it and how to go about it.
Well, so sorry. Is your question about how do you sell one on one versus group coaching, or what exactly is your question?
I would like to grow the one-on-one.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
sure. So, I mean, one on one is a very intimate, personalized, customized way to help people. And so obviously the price point would be and should be higher than your group coaching, right? So you have to figure out what exactly they're getting by, having you work with you one-on-one. And so that's an important piece you have to really distinguish on your website and when you talk to people. I think that's an important piece. I talk about how to create an irresistible offer
Yeah.
for a group and also for an individual. And the other thing
Yeah.
with one-on-one is that it takes more time to build that trust with folks, right? It usually doesn't happen in that first call. I just signed a client last week for a thought leadership branding coaching and one-on-one, right? And even though
Mm.
he was hesitant with my high price, and he mentioned it the first time, but he also said that I trust you. And then as soon as because he paid right away, that's another big thing, right? I shared the
Yeah.
link for a payment plan. He paid that day, right? That tells me something, right? Tells me he's invested and he's willing to do the work. And so, and the other thing to keep in mind is, one-on-one coaching. We only have so much time. There's not like, I can't have 20 one-on-one clients, nor do I want them. I try
Yeah.
to keep it to I usually try to keep like 5 to 6 is kind of what I want, and the rest I do group coaching or my online trainings and whatnot. So, to answer your question in terms of how to sell the one-on-one, you have to really clearly distinguish the difference between one-on-one versus group. What's the difference? Your website or whatever it has to share. Here's what you get with the group. Here's what you get with the one-on-one, and make it really clear what they're getting. What
Yeah.
this guy that with me is getting, I'm working specifically to his questions. He pings me. I've given an outlet to ping me whenever he has a random question. I've given him, some specific ideas on how to help him, how he can take advantage of that versus the group stuff. And so you have to really make that clear.
Okay. No, thank you. And then almost the last one is content. Well, I've never written a book, so I find that I'm borrowing content from books. How legal is that in terms of creating content that's directly almost on the manuals and the books when you're reading to post and share with people in terms of knowledge?
Well, I think it's okay to share your ideas or insights, reflections on what you've read or what you've seen out there. If you're directly quoting them, then you also have to be mindful of citing these people, right? So if
Yeah.
you're taking a quote from a book, just cite them, cite the author, cite the people who created. I think that's fine. And then if you're just sharing something in your own words, it's clearly in your own words as opposed to a rehash. Then yeah, you can share. Like for example. I read this book and here are the 3 takeaways that I have, and I just share it, right? And that's it. And it's not really what's in the book; it's my kind of your own take on it. So you can do that too. And a lot of people, it's a very common strategy on all social platforms to quote people and quote books and quote things like that. So it's certainly a good strategy to use if you want.
Thank you very much. That's clear, and thank you for the platform, ladies and gentlemen.
Awesome. I think I see another question in the feed too, eh, Indra?
Yes, actually, we've got the question from Kalaya. Thanks so much for asking the question. He's one of my friends. So his question is, my questions are, when is it too soon to start selling on Twitter with a small following? Oh, that's interesting, Bobby. We haven't talked about that. Um, and how can you regroup from selling too soon?
Sorry, I need to use
And
the soundboard more often, right?
I
I don't
know,
use it enough. It's so cool. We don't want the money to fly away, right? Okay, so let's start with the
right?
first question, which is when is it
Yes.
too soon to start selling on Twitter with a small following? You can start selling whenever you want. Okay, you can start selling whenever you want. You don't have to have a huge following. Okay, because let's say I just started on Twitter. Okay, and I ran this room. You don't think I could try to sell the workshop that's on top there? Of course I can, because I'm coming to this room, I'm delivering value, and I'm explaining exactly what this room's all about and this workshop's all about, and what you're going to get out of it. And you can click the link and see what it's all about. And if you're interested, great. If you want to learn more, book a call with me, DM me. It doesn't matter how many followers you have on any platform. You can start selling as soon as you can, but be clear, have a clear profile, deliver great value in the audio room or the tweets or the posts or whatever you're doing, and let people know what you're up to. I think it's totally fine. You can reach out and start having conversation with direct messages and reach out to folks and start conversations. And next thing you know, it may work out for you. So I wouldn't wait to build up a following, I would actually, and it's funny. It's funny you say that because now I'm starting on TikTok, and it's like, okay, should I start selling there? I could, and I would probably know. I mean, I've chosen TikTok for personal use, not for business use. But if I did make it business use, I definitely would have been able to start doing videos right away and sell people in the in those 1 minute tips, and invite them to DM me and ask a question. So I think you can do that right away. The second question is, how can you regroup from selling too soon and get back to building an audience? How do you regroup from selling too soon? What does that mean exactly? Indra, do you know what that means? What is selling
Yeah, I'm
too
just having a
soon?
look at it. Is it, I'm just trying to think, how can you regroup from selling too soon and get back to building an audience? Well, is it about trying to build your audience to a certain level before you start to sell something? I'm sort of working it reverse in the reverse, Bobby.
Yeah, I mean, I think he was going with the assumption that he was selling too soon. Now he wants to go back to audience building. Well, the thing is, again, it's not you can't you're not selling too soon. Okay, so you don't have to. It's okay to sell if you want to. In fact, you should be audience building and you can sell your business at the same time. Fun fact: they can both be done together, right? So you can do both. I also tell people that while you're putting your content strategy out there, you should also be continually working on your brand, your targeting, your niching, and all that kind of stuff, so that you can deliver in a much more effective way. So work on all those things at the same time. You can build your community, you can be selling your services, and you can be working on your branding and your targeting all at the same time. But keep working on all those things and do it consistently and do it with focus and passion and intent, and you'll get the results that you want. Hope that answers the question.
Yeah. Oh, we got the thumbs up. Okay, great.
I could use more of
It
those
sounded
things.
like, yeah, that's fun. It sounded like it was pretty thorough to me, your explanation. Okay, well, we have our next speaker up. Warm welcome to Sarah.
Hi, Indra. Hi, Bobby. How are you?
Good. Good to see you.
It's been touched on a little bit, but I think that that you should never stop trying to build your audience. I know that people tend to get stale with their content. It happens to everybody. You find yourself sitting there like, what do I share today? And try to, put a fresh coat of paint on something old. But there should always be focus on your existing, yes, but always try to keep something fresh out there. And I'm talking about digital content, specifically Twitter, because I'm not on really many other platforms, and I have small followings on like Instagram, but on Twitter, I find that if I see fresh content, I'm more likely to stop. If I follow somebody and I see the same old every day, I tend to skip by it, because I know, oh, person X is always going to tweet this. Person Y is always going to, tweet something similar, and it becomes very bland and stale. And so what I do is I do a lot of drafts, on Twitter. I have probably 200 drafts, where I've written something months ago, and then I'll scroll through my drafts and I'll be like, ah, this applies today, click. Um, and I think that if you're not constantly fresh, trying to generate new people to come into and to follow you and to follow your business model, whatever it is, um, your content can seem old, dated, and stale.
Yeah, I see people who post very similar things all the time, and particularly on LinkedIn, I see people putting the same stuff all the time. And after a while, I tune out. I check out. I'm kind of bored with it, and I think that's a bit of a challenge. Like I said, and I agree with you. You always be growing your community, and always be building your community, and learning to adapt and change and learn and grow because things are changing. I mean, Twitter's changing now, and so I'm learning to adapt with it. LinkedIn's changing all the time too, and I'm learning to adapt with it. And same with other platforms. I have to learn and to change, adapt with whatever's going on there, how it's trending, and how can I amplify my business. Because before social media, I was mostly doing speaking and training on how to build connection in real life and networking events. And so when digital came, I had to learn how to speak to that because I was the networking connection expert. And so that's kind of how I changed and grew. So I think that there's a lot of opportunity for you to learn and grow and build your audience. So I appreciate that. That's fantastic. And I think we're nearing the end here. I do want to end shortly, but I see. Andrea, how are you doing? Are we able to take on any other question, or I see someone wants to put their hand
Um,
up?
yeah, well, there is one last question actually, and Yoey has been here pretty much since the beginning. So if we have time, I think it's a question that uh, I don't know if we've covered it fully, but she's asking, what advice do you have for people who don't have a warm market to start with?
To just start, right? I mean, you don't have a warm market. Well, the truth is, you do. You're just not willing to use it. We all have a warm market, right? I mean, we have our family and friends to start off with, and if you really want to grow something somewhere, and like when you say you don't have a warm market, okay, maybe you don't have any, maybe you have no presence on social media, but here you are on Twitter, so there's something here, just people who follow you. Okay, you may have some Facebook friends or Instagram friends, that's great, but we all have a warm market to leverage. So in the beginning, when I launched my business, I went to all my friends and family and said, look, this is what I'm doing, here's what I could use help with, can you help me? And the first thing I did was I sent a survey to about 100 people as part of my personal brand journey. And 117 people answered that call, and they at least became my warm market to refer me to other clients. And so I built my business based on referrals. This is pre social media domination, right? And I did it that way. So I think that's the first thing I'll say. You have a warm market and connections that you don't realize that you have to leverage if you're trying to hustle for business. That's the first thing. The second thing is you build it up by, just like in the old days, going to network events. So you go to social rooms and you, like, if you want to make an impact, go on social rooms and do what Sarah and Will did, which is come up on stage and speak. That makes a huge impact than just being a listener in the audience. Huge impact. There's a woman for my LinkedIn audio room on on Thursday at 2 p.m. on LinkedIn audio. She comes up every single time, and she's one of the few. But we appreciate that. We actually love those people, and they are also memorable, right? And that's a great way to start building connections and letting people know who you are and what you talk about and how you talk, and showcasing, how awesome you are or your awesomeness, right? And so I think that to me is incredibly important. So, but the first thing is to just start putting stuff out there, start sharing things, and then get yourself up on stage, get yourself up in rooms, whether it's here or Clubhouse or LinkedIn Audio or whatever it is, and start talking to people and letting people know and hear your voice. And trust me, you will build a larger, warmer market with consistency and with demonstrating value.
Wow, that's amazing, Bobby. I think you wrapped that one up.
All right, yeah, I feel
And
good about that. Good.
yeah, yeah, that was a nice kind of conclusion, and also I feel like it was really encouraging that it doesn't matter where you're starting, but the important thing that has been um, the ongoing piece that Bobby you've been sharing is encouraging people to keep going and to be consistent. So I really feel like that is really positive and very encouraging to everybody that's listened in the space today. That doesn't matter where you're starting, but you have to start somewhere and you have to be consistent and persistent. And just some of the basics. I just wanted to read out some really basic things that I think everybody could take away, and especially I encourage some of the people that have just joined us to come back and listen to the replay, because a lot of elements that Bobby was talking about are the basics that he went over for niching and personal branding and establishing a clear target for your brand, and focusing on the platforms that you should be focusing on for your particular brand. He also went over some of the great marketing tools, and also establishing an avatar, or sometimes in some cases avatars. Uh, yeah, he went over some of those content marketing tools. Also, how you can, he covered off some really vital information on courses, how it doesn't have to be complicated to start with. You can start on something very small and build your program from there. And then he went on to the ABCs of course modules. And one thing that has really been ringing true all the way through your um, through everything that you shared, Bobby, is about creating value for others. And sometimes you have to do research for that. So I hope I hope I've done a good summary of what you've been talking about here. Oh, I see Will has his hand up.
Hi, I just wanted to add to Bobby just one thing that I'm a Christian, right? So my content has been Christian based values, but also posting of a lot of events that I do with the youth and the adults. Could that Im- impact in terms of monetization, or is that okay?
Well, I think you have to be mindful of that. If you have content that is targeted to one group, then you may exclude other groups, and that's fine, right? As long as you're okay with that, right? I mean, if you have Christian-based content, then you will be hired by likely people who are cool with that, and not hired by the ones who it doesn't resonate with, right? So, but that's okay. I mean, there's a lot of people in the world, and there's a lot of opportunity to build your business, and if that's what you want to stand by, go for it. I mean, I think there are ways to do that. And there's a reason why there are, Christian rock bands, and there's a reason why there's, lots of different types of people who target that group, and there's also other ones for other groups, right? So I think that's fine, but you have to be mindful of the fact that, yeah, you are what you're doing is you're basically niching. You're niching to a specific target audience, and there are benefits. There's pros and cons to that, right? The pro is, of course, getting focused and having the right people hire you, and then the
Yeah.
con, avoiding, or not avoiding, but not being able to access the other people. But that's okay. I mean, from what I understand and what I teach people is that if you create a really great niche and you kick butt in that niche and you're really, really good, you will expand and gain clients beyond that niche too. So even though I have a particular avatar that I use, I do get clients outside of that because of in terms of what I deliver.
Thank you. Awesome. Great.
No problem. I'm liking the clap. There's my love. Okay, good. Indra, what are you up to? I mean, I think we should end the room now. So, what are you up to? Tell me a bit more about what you're up to and what's going on with your work, and how can people
Oh,
support and follow you?
Oh, thanks so much, Bobby. So tonight I have a Positivity Vibe Tribe music vibe space. So if anybody is into music at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I have that space tonight. And we have an amazing guest, of course. And then on Wednesday, I have a regular space that I host also with Master Nobody on introverts. And then on Thursdays, I have another space where we're going to talk about how social media is toxic with Success Minded. So Wednesday is at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so that's at lunchtime for you guys. And on Thursday, it's at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And also I have a community. If you go to my profile page, you can join that community by clicking on that. It's just below, it's first thing at the top. And we warm welcome to everybody in the Positivity Vibe Tribe. We're just over 7,000 members, so that's growing. And thanks so much, Bobby. It's been so much fun. I've learned a lot today, and I'm sure everybody else has too.
That's great. Thanks, Indra. I appreciate that. And remind everybody, if you are interested in getting more deeper hands-on work on your Twitter profile, on your Instagram or TikTok strategy, on your LinkedIn profile and strategy, we're doing a workshop this Saturday, December 17th. Basically, it's 2 hours, and we're running 3 different breakout rooms. And you come into each of the rooms, and we'll go through your profile, go through your content strategy, go through your targeting, go through everything to help how you monetize, to help you optimize and grow that profile, and also to help you monetize and build your business. So if you want that really hands-on support, I encourage you to take a look at that tweet, look at the details, look at all the bonuses that we're offering, and what me, Ilya, and Melanie bring to the table. We'd love to have you be part of that special group of 10 for that workshop. And aside from that, I also do, again, other rooms. So I do a room on Tuesdays at 4 p.m. I'm doing on LinkedIn, and I do another one on Thursdays at 2 p.m. on LinkedIn. And then, of course, I do my Twitter Spaces usually on Sundays and Mondays. So this is a Power Connection chat. We talk about all things connection related, community building, relationship building, content creation, thought leadership, personal branding, networking, all that kind of stuff. And I want to thank Indra for her kind hosting and also asking me all those fun questions. I want to thank Sarah and Will and everybody else who came up on stage to ask questions, or people ask questions in the audience. We're every Monday at 11 a.m. So if you like this, we're going to share the replay. One way for you to create some content, honestly, is take a picture of this page, or take the replay that we're going to share shortly and share with your audience. Share your 1, 2, or 3 key learnings that you got. Like Indra actually shared a whole bunch of learnings as I was talking. And what did I do, Indra, with all those things you shared?
You retweet them to
I
your
retweeted every
huge
single one of them,
following.
right? I retweeted every single one of them to my half
That's
million
right.
followers, right?
Hmm.
Because she's providing value to me too, right? She's quoting me and she's tagging me. And so if you create content and you leverage influencers, one of the ways I grew on Twitter was leveraging influencers. You tweet their stuff, you show gratitude, and then they retweet it to their followers. The next thing you know, like, you get more followers and more attention. So I think that's a great strategy. You can totally do that with this room. You can share this image on LinkedIn, share your top 3 learnings, and tag me. You can do it on Instagram, tag me in intro and stuff. And if we see it, because we will, then we'll retweet it, or I'll comment and post on LinkedIn, and then my 47,000 followers there will see what I did. So those are all things you can do to put yourself out there and get people to notice who you are and what you're doing. So just a thought there. With that, I'm going to close the room. I'm going to go off for lunch. I want to thank everybody for being here. I really love hosting rooms, and I really want to thank Andrea for helping me co-host. And look forward to more conversation with you guys in the following weeks. All right. All the best. If you have any questions for me, just ping me, send me a DM. I'm happy to have a conversation. All right. Talk to you later. Bye.